Hello, everyone. Welcome to Smart Money News and Business Reviews. This is Valencia Broadus, your co-host, and Miss Bree Logan. Um, she is also one of our co-hosts, but Miss Bree is actually out, you guys, doing some housing and some real estate. And so she's going to try to pop in on us if she can, but she's out sailing, making money as we want entrepreneurs to do. I'm going to definitely just kind of jump in quickly and we're going to let us know who is here on deck with us because I want to just talk about a couple of articles and some information that I saw, and I definitely want your feedback on it. And then we'll kind of get right into talking about like it's Women's Month, some of the women's issues that are, happening. In fact, us all, whether we're male or female, we have mothers, wives, sisters, and all that. But I wanted to first just say hello to a couple of our young leaders, and then we're going to talk about some of our experts that are here on deck with us as well. And so, KD, is that Miss Kasaya? Miss Kasaya, if that's you, I need you to turn your camera on
Yes.
so we can. All right, turn your camera on so we can see you and talk with our young leaders. They're actually going to be starting their first fourth Monday presentations. And so we're pretty excited that they joined us today just to kind of see how it happens, how it practices. And they'll be doing fourth Mondays going forward. So Mr. Kevon, say hello to us and tell us, how did you come in touch with the Financial Empowerment Circle?
Um, all right. Well, hi everybody. My name is KUAW. I came in touch from doing internships with my old school, and then that's how I met Miss Valencia and Miss Paris and all of y'all. So yeah.
Excellent. And with the Financial Empowerment Circle, was there something specific that we did that you kind of just really did great at? Like,
Financial
tell us
jeopardy.
a little
Financial
part.
jeopardy. I think mine would be financial jeopardy and just like learning about finance as a whole.
Absolutely. And the reason I wanted to share that when we do smart money news and our business reviews, what we try to do these past three and a half really years is focusing heavily on how do we just help us, people that we know, everyone, how do we help us to just get stronger financially? And it actually started with Mr. Versi Lark and Mr. Brian Ross and some others. And Mr. Versi, he just joined us. Hello. And we basically said, we want to help people to learn as much as they can about money, but to make it rain. And so there's a big part, there's a book that we all started using, we're reading it, and Mr. Versi Lark, he's the author of the book. And so as most of you all know me, I'm an attorney by trade, but definitely I love doing youth development. And so a big part of that was we try to make sure that we are helping our young leaders to not just do catching their dreams, making them grow their career, college, and all that stuff, but they have to know personal finance. So we started in 2019. We did our first Financial Jeopardy competition. And Mr. Alfred Jordan, who will say hi to us in a moment as well, his son won the first championship. And he's away at college, in Arizona, where the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. So I just want to say, I talk about that a lot. There was a Super Bowl in Arizona. But he's there. And if I'm wrong, Mr. Alfred, you correct me. But he's in Arizona, correct? Your son?
Correct.
Amen, amen. Yes, I thought about him. I was watching the game anyway. We're going to the Chiefs right now, but and so we did our second Jeopardy competition, and Mr. Tevon, he was our champion then, and we had again some students that competed, and they really learned a lot, through that process, and they had mentors and all that. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I wanted just to say who he is because he's been so diligent. Once we started this radio show, he is watching every week. He's listening. He's taking notes. He's commenting. He's doing it all. And so we knew we would need a younger host for that fourth Monday. And so we just were thinking he would be perfect. And we asked him, and he said yes. So we're pretty excited about that. And we'll all mentor him and we'll talk with you because, we can talk. So, and then we have Miss Kasaya kind of say hello to us and tell us how you came in contact with the Financial Empowerment Circle. And you're
Hi,
on mute. There you go. Yes.
my name is Kasaya. Um, the way I came in contact with the financial empowerment was from one of my first internships. I ended up having to do a financial literacy class with Ms. B, and I've been working with her during the summer.
Absolutely. And they did the career kitchen where they had to do a business plan. We ran a kitchen. We had to do sales and all this type of stuff. And it was really exciting. But they really got to learn about um, running a business, other personal finance issues. So thank you both for joining. So now we're going to go to our other guest on deck, and then we're going to get into our conversation. But I want to first introduce people because I forget to do that sometimes. And I'll be in the show and then so I don't want to do that. We have a very special guest with us today, Dr. Pam Taylor. She is a dear friend of mine from years ago. Not that we owed her nothing like that, Dr. Pam. It's just we were just for a long time. And Dr. Taylor, she is not only a licensed psychologist who does has helped with career planning, with family counseling, all of that. And she'll of course tell more about her. But during Women's Month, we always think about you know women, we're like growing as business owners. We're running households, we're doing all these things, and we're just mighty and powerful. But there's a point where, like, life can get a little crazy. And so, where's the advice on how do we take care of ourselves? So we've done it last year. We did with entrepreneurs, especially. We try to say, as an entrepreneur, things can get tough and crazy. So who do we talk to? Because sometimes we're so busy we don't know who to talk to. So, Dr. Pam, please just say hello to us. And again, we're going to come back and talk more and learn more about you as well, though.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Pam Taylor, and I'm originally from Kansas City. I've lived in Columbia, Missouri, and now I live in South Florida. I'm practicing all telehealth at this point, and COVID was the reason I was able to do that. So I have picked up my practice and I've gotten licensed both here in Florida and Missouri, and I'm still doing counseling psychology all online, and it is a blessing. And I'm anxious to hear more about how people are handling their finances and the stress that comes with it. And I hope that I can be of benefit to the audience tonight.
And you will, you will. Thank you. And you heard she got practice here, and well, meaning she practices here and in Florida, and she's doing it, remotely and all that. And so she's making money, taking her skills wherever she is. And I'll tell you why that's important in just a minute. The whole taking our skills wherever we go. All
Mhm.
right, Mr. Versi Lark. So you're one of those people, those Fab Five. You got us all started on this financial empowerment journey, and he's the author of Make It Rain, and he'll tell you more about himself, of course. But he's also an investor, and he is
Mhm.
also one of our young career coaches. And that's really, for me, it's always about all the other stuff is important, but it's like we're here making things happen. So please talk to us. Say hello.
Hey everybody! Hey, I haven't been here for 2 or 3 or whatever sessions, so I figured I better join in and see what's going on. So I'm glad I caught you guys today. And Percy Lark, I think does everyone know me except for Dr. Pam?
Right. I haven't
Okay,
been able to meet you before.
great to meet you. Is great to meet you. I'm going to be very brief. My background, I'm retired, so my background, I've been an engineer by trade, worked my way through into the information technology world a long time ago, and came to DST actually to work for Sprint Nextel. They were going to spin off the wireline side of the business. That's what brought me here and my family. And so I've been here for now, I think it's 17 years in this area. We live out in the Overland Park area. But before I retired, I worked for a company called DST Systems. And I went there as a chief information officer and then moved over and ran one of their lines of business. And that business was called DST Financial Services. And that allowed me, I knew a lot about finance, but I learned a lot more because my clients were, you name it, Fidelity, T. Rowe Price, all the big companies that you know, but we focused on providing technology for retirement planning. And so we provided this service to those those organizations, brokers, et cetera. And so it really exposed me to a lot more than I had known before. But more importantly, you're sitting in meetings and you're hearing all this discussion about financial literacy and all the things that these companies say they're doing. And I just thought about to myself, and I said, none of these guys ever talked to me about this stuff. I had to learn on my own. And more importantly, nobody's talking to the people that live in my neighborhood back in where I was born and raised in Dayton, Ohio. And so anyway, I knew I was going to retire. And so with my wife's guidance and help, I wrote a very simple book, a small book on financial literacy called Make It Rain. And my simple mode is I want to plant seeds, and hopefully those seeds turn into millionaires down the road. Nothing happens overnight, and so I really get the basics in front of in their hands. And I spend my time doing lectures and talk wherever somebody will have me to talk about not just the book, but really to leave them with some tips that they can use to help build their wealth. And it starts with education, and then it works just all the way through kind of the things you should do as you move through certain ages of life. So enough about me. Wife, 2 kids, they're grown, causing me no trouble, which is great. Glad to be here.
Amen. Good to see you. All right. Mr. Alfred Jordan, please say hello to us. And Mr. Alfred is also a fellow attorney. He's been with the county legislator here and things like that. Another awesome youth development champion. So please talk with us.
Hi. As Ms. V said, I'm a business attorney. So my practice areas are mergers and acquisitions, entity formations, pretty much any type of contract for a business. Then I also do some commercial real estate, either a purchase or sale for my business clients, and sometimes I also do financing, looking at the documents for my business clients. So that is my work life in a nutshell. Happy to be here.
Excellent, excellent. And if y'all don't know, everybody should know we're live all over the world. I just want to tell you. And so it's pretty exciting. And so even if the people, as they know you or get to know you, they'll be able to, we reference back at the end, and we try to make sure that we also give contact information, because at the end of the day, as we started this radio piece, it was always a way for us to build a platform for our young leaders to have another place to practice, what they're learning and their skills. And we're so excited that now in month 3, Mr. KUAW, and I think Ms. Kasai is interested. We'll talk about that later. Ms. Kasai, it's good to see you. They're interested in hosting that 4th Monday with our help. And so we're trying to make sure, though, that we're not, because we are live. And people, they respond to our surveys and they ask us questions and they do the follow-ups. We try to make sure that weekly we're doing research and sending articles and information, as we did really with each other for like 3 years when we had a smaller Saturday empowerment group. And so we're trying to make sure that with our young leaders, that we'll make sure that they continue to use their knowledge and know more and grow more, so they can help us to spread the information. But it's also making sure that we're finding ways to help them to be the best versions of themselves, so that they can do more and be those millionaires Mr. Versi's talking about. And it's exciting that Mr. KUAW, he's wanting to be a financial advisor, and he'll maybe tell you more about that later. So he's been excited. Miss Paris, please talk to us.
Well, hello. My name is Paris Holly. I have been involved with the Financial Empowerment Group since the beginning as well. I started off with the very first Financial Jeopardy. I've helped coach the next generation coming through. I help with our students. I help mentor them and bring them along and keep it very honest with them, which I'm pretty sure they'll tell you. Yeah, and I'm just, here.
And you're amazing, and thank you. So if you'll let me, I want to jump right into this conversation. I started a little earlier mentioning an article that was in the New York Times, and it focused first on, and it's related to Women's Month. I promise. There's an article in the New York Times, and they were talking about what really happened to the Silicon Valley Bank. Like, why did it really crash? And there's different narratives that are going around, and we talked about it a little bit, last week, as to, some of what happened in regards to, with interest rates were happening, Silicon Valley Bank specifically, not Signature, because there was two banks that had some issues. There's a couple of more now, but as far as last week, and with that situation, there was a piece where, because as things were becoming mature, the interest rates on some of the securities investments they had placed money in, they weren't able to be as liquid as they needed to be. And so a lot of the depositors like me and you, just consumers, not, well, investors maybe, but they didn't talk about that a lot, on the news. But to regular consumers, as we were hearing about the bank may fail, then people, they went and they like took out all their money. So like walked up to the bank and took out their money as fast as they could. So then the bank didn't have liquid money to do things. And there's a lot of articles, on that. Those are the facts, that the numerical facts and facts that we saw. We saw people going to the banks and taking their money out. But another narrative that has been floating around, and very heavily on the very, very conservative side. I'm saying that on purpose because of what the article does, the New York Times article does, the New Yorker. So what the other narrative is saying is that actually, because there were women and minorities and LGBT persons actually on the board running things, that's the reason it failed. And it's really in black and white. They are saying it, like, for real. And I'd seen it even before this article, but the New Yorker article was more interesting because that article came back and they were saying that they do not believe that that's what caused it. Let me just first say that. And I don't think that's what's caused it either. A lot of people don't feel that's what's caused it. But what the New Yorker article did say is, we do need to think about, when we're doing things like, trying to say people have to be on jobs or on boards, or they must be in certain situations because we are minority or female, that sometimes we do take away the meritocracy of the situation. And then I wrote a note to myself, what does that even mean? And so with meritocracy, they're basically saying, yes, you can have anything out there if you have the merit to basically make it happen. If you can, get paid to perform. The reason though it's a problem though is not the New Yorker, but all those other articles that I've seen since the beginning. They said things like, well, if SVB hadn't been lending money to all these minorities, then maybe they'd have the money. I mean, people were writing all this stuff and being real clear that, you're lending to people that don't kind of know what they're doing. So they were risky. And because I'm not there at the bank, that's my dog, sorry. I don't know who they actually lent to. I don't know what happened, but there's all this piece about women and minorities that, we just don't know. We don't know really what's happening. We can't handle things. And there's been a lot of great pushback that says, that, but women, we run a lot of your households, and when they look at a lot of the data on entrepreneurs, women, we're some of the best entrepreneurs, maybe because of our empathy. And I mean, there's other reasons they say why, but I wanted to bring that up because and we of course can dialogue about it, as I know there's so many different thoughts, that people I talked to have had about it. But we think about, for it's women's month, and if you're looking for that, it says what really happened to SVB. And so that's some of the articles of the New Yorker. And so with that, we think about, what are the top 5 financial challenges that women are having, not just this month, but a whole lot of times. And Miss Bree and I and others, I try to research lots of different articles, and based on whatever we're going to talk about, making sure that I at least have some good facts. I'm not the expert on it all, but I will read it, bring it forth to us, and see kind of what we're thinking. I'm just going to run down the 5, and then we can talk about them a little bit at a time. Because it goes back to, as women, as we have these challenges, these are just our everyday life challenges. And when I list them, you'll see it's, so how do we how do we balance that in our heads and in our hearts, knowing that life is tough? So, top 5 financial challenges for women: longer life expectancy. And we all know, because often they're saying that women live longer than men. So that just brings up a situation where sometimes, we don't have enough money to last, there's extra, sometimes 15 years, longer. 2, in interrupted work lives. And they're saying because, of course, we have children. Sometimes we're supporting our spouse and, letting him go first, because often men do make more money. And those are facts, normally in almost all industries. And so, we're sometimes stepping back to do that. So our careers get cut short. So then we don't, again, have dollars to sometimes as much to invest. But hopefully, our spouse is sharing with us. So hopefully it's fair that it's okay. 3, reduced earning and retirement savings potential. I kind of mentioned that a little bit in regards to earning potential. But the other thing that was mentioned in that number 3 was, with that reduced earning and retirement savings, is sometimes for women, because of course we're child bearers and all of that. If employers know that we are, especially for younger women, where we think about older women have, challenges, for younger women, and we're wanting to have a family, wanting to do all these things, employers, and sometimes most of your corporations are headed by men. And so they know about family and life. So maybe they think, based on their article, that we will have to be late more. Maybe we can't afford childcare. Things are happening. And so we're discriminated against because we're women, and they just call it parenting punishment. There's actually a name for it. And I didn't know that until I started reading a lot this week. It's, if you want to do that, then, there's sacrifices financially you're probably going to make. Number 4, fallout from divorce or even breakup. There's been a lot of articles that talked about how single women in general, that they just don't make as much money. And I know single women who make a lot of money. It could be $200,000 a year, 300,000, but they're saying that even with that, because the single person, and normally, the woman is paying all the bills herself, and maybe they're a single parent, so they have a lot of other costs that maybe single men don't have. And not just divorce, but the marriage rate now, it's so much lower that people aren't even getting married as much, or they break up sooner. So things like that. And then the 5th was just lack of confidence. Sometimes because we don't know as much, we just have a lack of confidence. And one of the things that we had learned at the conference that we went to a couple of weeks ago, and I did not know this, and so Miss Paris, you might have the number, but the actual year, but it wasn't till I think 1974 or 75 that women could even apply for their own loans or do any of that. I didn't know that. And so y'all knew. So it's just like, and if we wanted to apply for loans back then, even once we were allowed to, or credit cards, we had to ask our husband's permission, and period. So what the women on that panel were saying is, well, first, what if your husband didn't want you to? You couldn't. But also, what if you didn't have a husband then? Then 1974, that in that area, you basically had to go and find, a man. It could be a brother, someone, but you had to find someone who would basically say, allow you to do that. So it's just been a really interesting, and I think from that point, and then even up through now, as far as the parenting and trying to run a business, we even married or single, as women, as we're doing things, often we carry more on us, and it can get just a little tougher, sometimes. So I'm gonna sit that there for a moment, because the New Yorker article, the gentleman there was not trying to was not was not a proponent of the narrative that basically women and minorities, brought it down. But that author of that article, he was trying to say, but we do need to think about meritocracy, and how do we make sure that as a people, not just Black people, but women, everyone, that we have to push back against that. We have to say, no, we are qualified, we are smart, I do deserve more, because if not, then it really hurts us financially, going forward. Because if people start really believing that women and minorities, we are the cause of that bank, because I mean, the media is strong. I mean, these articles, these are like strong writers and professionals and leaders of banks and stuff saying this stuff. It's already hard to borrow money. Um, think about that. So I'm gonna sit that there for a second. And Miss Paris, I saw you shaking your head. Anyone else? And give me a thought or two, and please let's talk a little bit about that.
Um, I will definitely say from the conference we went to, yeah, I think it was about 2 weeks ago now. Um, that was very educational on the sense of not realizing how many barriers we've actually broken, but how we still have to fight for a lot of those barriers still to make sure we have our rights to vote, our rights to do a lot of things, not only as a Black person, but as a woman. We're steady fighting to keep those and fight for an equality financially. And it's not an easy thing to do. Even me being a woman and engineer, a woman who is an engineer, that is a different fight that I have to go through. If I just talk casually amongst my male counterparts, I could hear how some of them may make more than me for a lesser position. That when I was at that position, I I was making significantly less. Versus, okay, now I'm educating myself. I may not be like, hey, what do you make? But I know how to put myself in a position to be like, oh, I saw this online, and I let them talk their way in and inform me, like, hopefully you're getting close to this, or how many raises they were able to receive within less than a 6 months period, because they just went straight to them. I was like, no, I'm not going to accept any less. And that supervisor would say, okay. Versus if I do that, it's a fight unless I'm leaving the company. Then they want to fight for me. Then they want to do that. Even with my recent change, my recent change of jobs, I noticed that when I asked for a certain amount, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. Well, okay, well, I'm gonna leave. Can we talk about this? Can we talk about this? They're more willing to work with you, and if you tell them you're gonna turn them down, it's easy for them to be okay. You can have that, no problem. Is there anything else that you would like? Where it shouldn't have to be like that. If you know your worth, you know that. Do not lessen yourself for another person, because you know your worth. You know what you can do, and sometimes a lot of women do go above and beyond everything that they're doing, and they show it in every aspect of their work and training people and doing things that are way outside of their job, everything, and it gets looked over or it doesn't get talked about. So it's just been interesting.
Is that stressful to you
Very
sometimes?
much so. Very much so. Even me and my friend Crystal, we had a conversation this weekend at a tea shop, and I know her work ethic. I know how she is. I know how she's doing a good 7 different people's jobs and her job. And she gets overlooked for it all the time. And then they want to speak on her setting boundaries and standing up for herself. And I don't appreciate it. I'm like, you're worth way more than that. Don't ever let anybody tell you you're not. As a woman, we understand our worth together. But sometimes you also need somebody else to tell you that and continue to help you grow.
Absolutely. And I think about, no, anyway, yeah, if you want to jump in, you just lift your finger and jump on in. Yes, Dr. Taylor, please.
I was going to ask her, tell me, when you go through that, how do you manage your stress afterwards? How do you feel, and what do you do to get past that?
At a point in time, I was going to therapy. The therapist that I did have, she stepped away. So I tried to find another one, but there was just, some issues. So I tried to make sure I take time to have me time. Really step back to do something for myself and have some type of self care. Because if I don't, I'm the person who's going to overwork myself, overwhelm myself, and then get into a miniature depression and not realize it until it's probably a little too late and I fumble the ball and have to rebuild. But I have a great circle between not only the financial literacy, everybody who is in that circle that I've met, but a couple of friends who I've been able to bring along with me who are also striving and succeeding within this process. We lean on each other. We hear each other's tone, and it's like, hey, you haven't talked to me in about 2 weeks. I might have heard you on this, but we haven't caught up. Give me a breakdown. Tell me the truth. It's okay to have a safe space and speak about it, and letting myself be vulnerable, um, and not being so hard on myself. And it's new. I'm nowhere near great at it by any means, but I'm learning, and I'm learning to reaching out to my support system who's here. Like Mr. Alfred, Mr. Versey, when I went to have some me time, went to the Bahamas, I reached out to them because there was a business opportunity. And I was like, instead of me just running full force and not knowing what I'm getting myself into, I'm going to stop, look, and listen, and let me ask somebody who is more experienced in this, what do they think? On top of what do they know, so I don't just end up putting myself in a position where now I'm depressed because something may not have worked out, or not putting my all in because this is a great opportunity and I just don't know if I trust myself enough to make this opportunity. Like, is it smart or not? Just, utilizing who is around you, who sees your potential before you see your potential.
Yeah. The reason I asked that question, it has to take a lot of energy to fight for yourself all the time. And so I just wonder, after you use all that energy, how do you uh, fill your cup back up again and go forward? Because we have to do that. That just takes a lot of energy. And that's our women for sure, and our men. It takes a lot to just keep asking for what you deserve. And so I'm just encouraging you to make sure you know your worth and don't let anybody take it away from you, but also know how to replenish yourself when you have to use that energy to fight for what's yours and what you should have.
I'm learning.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it takes time, but we get it. We get it eventually.
No, that is cool. And you all, yes, it is Women's Month, but we also know
Mhm.
that men go through stress too. So I just want to
Absolutely.
share
Yes.
if you
Absolutely.
have questions or thoughts, because the other piece is I think of as Miss Paris was speaking, we we learn to softly advocate for ourselves because as women, because it's not really appropriate, they'll think we're mean or there's this other whole other
Combative.
thing happening. Combat, yes, man, combative, and also having just men in our companies that ever stand up for us or advocate for us too. Those are the partners Miss Paris is speaking about in the support circles. It really makes such a big difference. And I think about our young leaders because as they're be graduating soon, whether they're going to college or different places, it's now when you're away from home, that same thing is important. You're going to go to school, it could be a stressful situation, things are happening. How do you, of course, know your worth, know what you can do, and don't be afraid to ask for help? Because so many of our students, when they go away, careers or college, especially if they're away from home, sometimes they come back not because they're not smart and all that. It's because they don't have a circle that where they're comfortable asking for help, if that makes sense. Mr. KUAW, Ms. Kasai, what do y'all think about that thought? Because you're getting ready for you're doing your ACTs soon, Mr. KUAW, and all that. Is it easy to ask for help, especially at your new school now, where you learn getting to know new people?
I think for me, I don't really like asking for help because I don't want to feel like I'm that type of person. So I don't really do it personally, which is bad. I need to be more open to asking people for help. Like I know there's people around me who are willing to help, but I just don't want to seek out that type of that type of thing. That's not me. So yeah. But at my school
No.
now, You're not really open into that. Like everybody feels like they so much better than you where I'm at now.
Mm. So there's
So
no camaraderie. Dr. Taylor, please.
Well, I want to, okay, I'm getting ready to age myself a little bit, but when I think about when I went away to college a long time ago, a long, long time ago, and I remember going away and thinking, oh, these people have a lot more than I do. I believed that they were so much more financially well off than I was, and I internalized a lot of that, and I should not have. I found out later they were thinking the same thing about everybody else. So I'm going to encourage you to these people, that the people you go to school with now, they may give off the impression that they feel better than everybody else or they feel like they're doing better, but don't let that stop you from reaching out to people, looking for support, and finding the best people that are for you. There's somebody there that you can connect with.
Absolutely. But as you, I know you want to play sports, and you're really smart, Mr. Kevon. You like to be
Mhm.
challenged, and so, Miss
Thank you.
Kasaya,
Here.
what do you think? And thank you,
I think we just lost her.
Miss Kasaya. She left me. Come on back, Miss Kasaya. Tell her come back. So,
And Mr. Kevon, don't forget we're here. If you, for me at least, I know if ACT's coming up, I've been tutoring for way too long, and you have my number for you not to just send a text message. I like math. It's fun if you're struggling with that. You know, an abundance of people who want to help and be there. Let us help you. Be not as a, don't look at it as like we're trying to help the needy in any way, shape, or form, because we don't look at you like that. We want our people to succeed. We want you to succeed. You are a part of us. You are greatness
you're in the
everywhere.
circle.
Like, we want you to do great just like we want to do great. So think about that aspect of it. You need help, be like, oh yeah, I got them. They do this. That is the point. We're here. Everybody has a different. Everybody carries a different trait of knowing how to do something. That's what we're supposed to do. If you don't know how to do this, ask somebody else who knows how, so they can help you know how to do that next. Because you may know how to do something I don't know how to do. Let's say I wasn't a sneakerhead myself. If I wasn't a sneakerhead, I could go ask you, hey, what's the newest shoes that are coming out right now? I bet you could tell me, and I wouldn't feel any type of way about it. It works the same way where it comes to money. You know, a lot of people who are involved in money, you know, a lot of people who are involved in so many different things. Utilize us. We are here. We want to see you succeed. We want to see Miss Kasaya succeed. We want to see every single person who is within our hands, our grasp. If we could reach you, we want you to succeed, especially if you look like us. There are so many people who are not there for us. We are here for us. Remember that. Ingrain it in your head.
It's good stuff, Mr. Versity. Go ahead, please.
You know, I can't sit for a whole hour
No,
and
so
not.
go ahead. Go. I know. No, talk to us. Talk to us. Talk to
I'm
us.
sitting here biting out. So first, I want to say just to the audience, because and you know this when I do my discussions about Make It Rain, especially when I'm talking to students and young adults, first thing I say is, uh, when you say know your worth, it's not hard to know your worth these days. When we were coming up, there was nothing to look for. Now you got to do is go out to Google, go to Indeed, etc. And before you say, you know what, I believe I'm worth something, go see what the going market rate is. So you don't put yourself in a situation where you're asking for something that may not be appropriate for your, depending on your experience and all that. But make sure you truly know your worth, not just because someone else makes this much, I believe I should. Just go with the facts. So you have that to bolster your case. The next thing is, it's very simple. Have a conversation. My advice to people: have a conversation about, let's talk about my performance. That leads you to a discussion about, now that I understand, I'm doing a great job, et cetera, let's talk about my pay. We tend to go into these discussions saying, hey, you know what, I deserve a raise, without laying the groundwork. You need to lay the groundwork. So you fuse the arguments about, well, you need to do this or that or whatever. And in that discussion about your performance, you say, if the leader of the organization says something like, well, you're doing good here, you're doing good here, you're doing here, but we'd like to see you do this. You say, so if I'm doing these things, does that position me so that I'm ready for the raise when it's due. How about that? So soften the ground. I would say soften the ground. I had a boss early on. I was very lucky, and he said, "Versi," he said, "You never seem to. You go and you talk to people, and you get what you want. What they don't see is the conversations I've been having all along the way to avoid disappointment." And so, spend time, softening the ground is what I call it. That's job one. Number two, be ready to leave. There is no company that is worth the stress. Let me be very clear here. That is worth you losing your sanity or your dignity or anything else out there. There are plenty of companies that are more than willing to hire people and pay them what they're worth. So the struggles sometimes that we are having, we don't even need to have. And that's been the hallmark of my career. I literally would go into the new interview and the new job, and they say, "Well, what's your career plan?" I said, "I'm gonna be here for 3 to 5 years." Most people are scared to do that. I said, "No, I want you to know. And so if you continue to pay me, I'll stay, but I'm not going to be around while I try to." I let them know up front, and people thought I was crazy, but guess what? I stayed in those companies a little bit longer than 3 to 5 years, and about every 2 to 3 years, just what somebody knocked on my door, say, "Hey, Bercy, how you doing? What are you up to? What are you thinking about?" So you need to lay the groundwork to set that stage so that when you're ready to have the conversation, and hopefully they come to you. They know 2 years. They knew me like a book. 2 years, he's getting anxious. I better find something else for him to do and figure out what we're going to do with him. So you can have those conversations in the interview or after, but let people know, you know what? I really want to be here for a career, but I got to make sure that I'm making the money and getting the experiences that I need. So that way you put the ball in their court. So that's the second thing. Then the third thing to key on, I was an engineer. I'm gonna say I was a very introverted person. I was an engineer by trade, very introverted. And so I went to Central State University, all black university, went to Wright State University. And as I was about to transfer to Wright State University, it was a predominantly white college. I was like freaking out, right? Freaking out for Versi. It's all inside, or nothing ever came out. But I'm talking to my dad. He said, "What are you worried about?" I said, "Man, this is going to be different." And he goes, "Versi." He said, "There's 5,000 people there. They are no different than you." He said, "They're as smart as you. They work hard as you." He said, "You're going to be fine." He said, "Don't ever think that someone else has more juice." He didn't use the word juice, but I'll use that one. Juice than you. He said, "They're no different than you. They're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. They're going to do great. You're going to do great. But the first thing he said is find a buddy." And so that's what I did. Right. And that wasn't hard to do because, to Dr. Pam's point, all you got to do is go into one of the labs, go into one of the libraries, go into one of the study halls, and you're going to find a lot of people just like you going, "Holy crap, I don't really understand this. Let's get together. Let's get together and do some studying together." So and you're not asking, it's not like you're weak and ask for help. Everybody needs help in college. Everybody's trying to find their way. Same thing in high school. Every time you go through one of these little plateaus from elementary school to middle school to high school to college, then you go to you choose to go to. Everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody's learning. And so you're going to find lots of people that are doing the same thing as you. And the best thing to do is find a buddy. And usually you find that first one, and you kind of like the power of two. You start to find more and more, but then you got to limit your time because people will consume your time. So just a few words of thought there.
No,
I just
absolutely.
take a pause really quick so
The
we can
things
make
I'm saying
sure
are
we
not
do.
just obviously
Hold on.
but they're for everybody. This is just career advice that I'm hoping you take away if you're in this audience.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes,
Versi.
everyone.
And I'm going to do a quick pause because we cannot forget to give our lovely shout outs to KUAW. You can follow us on KUAW.org. You can listen to us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. We stream on TuneIn Radio. You can find us by asking your smart speakers to play KUAW, and we're also on Roku TV.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Alfred, I'm thinking about, of course, your son in college in Arizona. And I know Miss Kasaya, her internet messed up on her. She said, sorry. Mr. Kevon, as he thinks about getting ready for those things, and I know your son would probably have thoughts for him. So I think of students that we work with somewhere that we also can here or there connect. Of course, you can talk to Mr. Alfred. He'll tell you lots of good stuff. But then he has, his son, and we all have different people that can also continue to make sure that we're saying, like Miss Denaya, who's going to college in a moment, like making sure that we're passing that information down. And that's the reason we try to keep everyone connected. While we do monthly outings, and we're going to do the career kitchen again, and we have an internship starting again in a few weeks. And Mr. Kevon, he's already started his with us now, so we're excited. With all the kids from his other school, they're going to be coming back actually starting next week, and they're excited that you're going to be kind of hanging out too, Mr. Kevon. So we're really happy about that. But for you, because you're at a new place, new people, is how do we make sure that we keep you uplifted and motivated? Because I think we don't want something to happen where you're starting to get, stressed because you're doubting yourself. And we all know you're really, really, really smart. And you're very vocal. And when you talk, I mean, you say great things. And so sometimes it's when we go to a new place, all these new people, you're in a bigger sea or bigger pond. And sometimes we do doubt, of, am I as great as I think I am? And it's okay to think you're great because you are. So I just wanted to make sure I'm sharing that. But talking with other students who are making those climbs you want to make and keeping you connected to just hear from them. And that's what you'll be doing a lot on your fourth Mondays. We'll be talking to a lot of our students that are in college and all that, and you'll be able to interview them. And I know you know all that, but I want to say it out loud as far as what's going to be happening, because that's the power of the microphone and you now being in that seat to reach out and say, what y'all doing? Tell me. Right on me. So, Mr. Alfred, I want you to say hi. You didn't say anything. So, I kept talking. Sorry about that.
I guess I'll just jump on the train with talking to Mr. Kevon. The only thing I would say is that when we came to talk to you all, I was really impressed with the number of questions that you had for us. A lot of times when you go to talk to high school students and things like that, you ask, are there any questions? And it's crickets. And then the teachers are trying to encourage people to ask questions. You had a bunch of questions. And also, I would say the quality of your questions were really good as well. And I was talking to Ms. Valencia this week, and I'll say that young man is a sponge based on the questions that you asked. So don't be afraid to ask those questions in a new crowd, because that's how you get the information. I mean, you have to do your work, right? But that's how you get the information, by asking questions when you run into something you don't know. So anyway.
Amen. And I'm going to ask Dr. Payne. Oh, go ahead, please, Mr. Kevon. Go ahead.
No, I want to say, okay, I got my question asking skills from Mr. Versity because I read his book and he said the more you learn, the more you can earn in the world. So I was like, okay, and I took that and I just apply it to everything I do now.
Amen.
So yeah.
That knowledge, Dr. Pam, please.
I'm sorry, I might have missed
I do have a specific question because I think about, thank you, as we're talking about, of course, it's Women's Month, and they were saying one of the biggest challenges is that lack of confidence and knowledge. And I think that applies to, again, everybody. And when I go back to that New Yorker article, sometimes we can let people think we're not as great or as strong as we are because sometimes we're afraid to say what we know because we think maybe it's wrong or maybe I shouldn't. But I wanted to kind of bring it back to that piece because how do we, through everything that we're doing, Miss Paris, as a mom and working and, us running businesses, just some thoughts on how do we do more of that self-care and believe in ourselves as much as we can.
As much as you can. This is going to be quick. I think we're about to wrap it up, but I think the gist of that is so many of us don't get what we need as youngsters, as young people. So it's a blessing that you guys are there for the young people to help them learn that you are confident, that you are worth everything that you say you're worth, and helping them to instill it, and then helping them to, if they have not got it from home, or if they were taken away from somewhere at school, if their confidence was just belittled, then they need mentors like what's here on this panel. So confidence can be kind of diminished if we don't get what we need somewhere. And I'm hoping that you will continue to mentor the young people and let them know that they can do what they feel is in them to do, but they will need help. And so we don't want them to do the, there's a new thing, the imposter syndrome. We don't want them to feel like they go out and pretend like they're somebody and not really feel it. They should also know that what they present is what they should be presenting, and they feel good about what they're presenting. But we don't want the imposter syndrome. That's just I don't like the term, and I don't like for our young people to feel like that. I don't like for adults to feel that way. So we don't want our children to feel like that either. So I'm encouraging that this panel continue to mentor and encourage young people.
Right.
It takes a lot.
I know you've done, I mean, your work, your PhD, your work is you've done youth development and families and career counseling and coaching. How can people reach you because you do telehealth, you do great work. I know that personally. Can they reach you?
Well, okay. My office number is still 816-340-6649. And my assistant takes care of all those kinds of things. I will tell you right now, because God has really blessed my practice, that she will tell you there is no openings. But if you tell her, if the audience calls and tell her that you saw me here on this panel tonight, we will try to figure something out. We will try to figure that something out. I also have staff that still are also telehealth, and we'll make it happen to make sure everybody can be all they want to be.
That's awesome.
Number one more time. Is that what you said, Ms. Paris?
Yes.
816-340-6649.
Thank you. And I'll be sure to make sure we post that on our Facebook as well, so it'll be able to be reached out just in case they didn't catch it. We are going to have
I'll go ahead and give you this real quick. The website is mynewhopecc.com.
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 Amen. Thank you.
We're about to end, aren't we?
Yes.
No, go ahead.
Since this is Women's Month, I'm gonna post this. It's a lady by the name of Shelley Archambault. Her book is called Unapologetically Ambitious. She is one of the top executives in the United States on boards of many Fortune 500 companies. I'm going to share it with you right now. You guys can share this or take a look for yourself.
Okay.
I'm not selling it. I'm just saying it's a good. I know her personally. She's a very good person. I gave the book to my daughter.
Okay.
No, that is good. And we take this information and we send this out. It's live, but we record the videos. Well, I don't, but they record the videos.
Hi.
And then we actually.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, kill that.
No, it's okay. But we actually we take information and we try to, post it. We do a thank you note, stuff like that. And we try to post information so people can still reach out to you. And we hope you'll come back. And we'll invite you back. Just please know that because it's good stuff. And it goes quick. But then as people, as they respond, they ask questions on the YouTubes. And as they do that, we reach back out to the individuals that they've asked questions and ask you to come back. We do it that way on purpose. Whatever people are saying they want to hear more about, we try to do that. And Mr. KUAW, we're going to be checking in with you on that fourth Monday next week. So we'll be letting you guys know what he'll be talking about and everything. And we'll be working with him to get ready. So y'all stay tuned. Miss Paris, thank you. Dr. Pam Taylor, thank you from Florida, where it's warmer there.
It's nice and warm.
Thank you, Miss Bree, even though you couldn't join us this week. Thank you all. I appreciate you. We appreciate you. Don't forget, you can follow us at KUAW.org, Smart Money News and Business Reviews. And thank you for Shifting Paradigm for giving us a shout out because they were the show right before us.
Amen. Shout out to them too. They're talking about money too, y'all. That's all I'm saying. How do we make it? So thank you all. It's good to see everyone. And we do look forward to seeing you again very, very soon.
That'll be good. All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Good meeting everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.